Hey there, it's Chris's Corner, and today we have Leslie Davis, author, You Can't Eat Love. Hey Leslie, how you doing this wonderful morning?
I am doing great, Kris. How are you doing? How's the weather where you
You know what? It's snowing out here in Calgary, Alberta. Where about yourself? How's the weather treating you over there?
are? Well, down here in Katy, Texas, it's in the 50s, which I am loving, but
It's
they said that it's going to be up in the 80s later on this week. And last week we had some record breaking high temperatures too. So
that's
I'm
amazing.
envious of your snow up there.
I'm envious of your son. So, um, just to jump into it, You Can't Eat Love. It's a book that, like, I've looked at your website, I looked you up a bit. You Can't Eat Love. Where's the story? Tell us the story of You Can't Eat Love. Where are we going and where are we starting?
Well, we're starting with my journey to get healthy mentally, physically, and emotionally, because about almost 7 years ago now, I was in a very, very dark place and realized I could go one of two directions.
Yeah.
I decided that I was going to become the best version of myself that I possibly could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I began that journey. And I tell people now that if I would have known how hard it was going to be, I don't know that I ever would have started. But I'm grateful that I did. And, oftentimes when we start off on a trip, we don't know that we're going to run into all these traffic jams and all these other things, but it's okay. Because once we get to where we're going, then life is so much better. Um, and it was during that journey that I realized that I had what I call a myself-sized hole in my heart that I'd been trying to fill with food, and food was my drug of choice. And what I really lacked was loving myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so once I began to understand that I didn't love myself, I started working towards loving myself. And as a consequence, I didn't need my drug of choice, food, as much anymore.
Interesting. So when you didn't need your drug of choice of food, what path did you go on, or what path did you take?
Well, I started listening to myself and acknowledging my emotions, listening to my emotions, not being afraid to sit in my emotions, being
Yes.
able to say, okay, you know what? Right now I'm feeling sad. And
Mm.
what is going on that I'm feeling sad? And I started having conversations with myself. And I talk about in the book, finding my very best friend in the whole wide world, which is me. Because
Mm.
truthfully,
Yeah, that's cool.
truthfully, what we long for is someone to listen to us at any time of the day for however long that we want to talk. And who is always with us but ourselves, right?
That's very true.
Um, so I started writing, and I'm not going to say I journal because I don't like the word journal. And anybody accuses me of journaling, I will tell them I absolutely do not journal. But I do have, but I do have
Fair enough.
notebooks. I have notebooks filled with conversations with myself.
Okay.
Um, but I discovered that if I could write those conversations, that it was much more healthy and productive because I
Mm.
got them out of my head and onto paper. But just having that conversation with myself, this is why I'm feeling sad today, this is what's going on. Okay, so what can we do so that we can move past this, or do we just need to sit in it for a moment? Because so many times when we talk to somebody else, a friend, I don't care how good of a friend they are, they get tired of listening to us being sad about something, and
Yep.
or even if we're happy about something, they get tired of
Mm.
listening to us being happy about something.
Mm.
But I discovered that I needed to be able to sit in my emotions and to not be afraid, not to run from them. And so as a consequence of that, food began losing its power, quote unquote, over me.
So going over into food, what are you? Did you do you feel, based upon you've written your book, that food is something that does control a lot of people?
Food does not control a lot of people, but
Okay.
people use food to as an excuse for something other than feeling what they're feeling. I mean, let's think about this. How many
Yeah.
commercials have you seen on TV where a child is sad and the parent gives them food?
None.
How many times have you heard of comfort food?
Yes. Heaps. All the time.
All the time. How many times have you heard somebody say, I am a stress eater?
I've heard that as well. Yes.
So you see, we've given food power or as a substitute for feeling
Okay.
instead of saying, you know what, right now, this is what I'm feeling.
Mm.
And I was reminded of this yesterday. I made my boys like pumpkin pie. So I made a pumpkin pie for each one of them, which is what I do at Christmas time. And I
Yeah.
was having a conversation with myself. Okay, so what was your intention? Let's talk
Mm.
about intention for a second. My intention was, I know how much they like pumpkin pie. I enjoy making the pumpkin pie for them. I hope they enjoy eating it. But
Yeah.
nowhere in that conversation is, I am making this pumpkin pie for them because I love them and I want to show them I love them. No, I made the pumpkin pie because I know they enjoy it. I enjoy making it for them and I know
Mm.
that they enjoy eating it. So,
Mm.
do you see the difference? It's not comfort, it's not a substitute for love, it just is.
Yeah. It is what it is. You're making it because they love it. They love eating it.
Right,
Simple as that.
right.
It's pretty. It sounds pretty direct. Now, question for you though: with people that are maybe with anxiety or depression, what do you? So, what is the substitute then? So, if maybe not substitute, then what is the turning point? So, if someone's like, let's just say, for me, I love burgers at night, midnight, 11, when I'm super stressed after meetings. I'm like, ooh, it'd be great to have like, a fast food burger or something really unhealthy. Where, what should the audience that is listening to this start going, oh, maybe I need to look at this, or maybe I need to do that, or maybe I need, what direction would you be pointing them in and why?
Well, what I learned to do is when I started feeling that pull, I mean, actually, it was stronger than a pull. It was almost a shove, towards eating that bag of barbecue potato chips with that whole
Mm.
container of onion dip. I started recognizing, okay, what is going on? And I would start asking myself, because when we feel that compulsion, and that's what it is, it's a
Mm.
compulsion to go after that fast food burger, that bag of chips, that
Yeah.
whatever your weakness is, we actually have a second to take just a little tiny breath. And I've learned through practice, I've learned
Yeah.
to take that little tiny breath and go, wait a minute, what is really going on? And ask myself what's really going on, and then stop and listen.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times I would ask myself what's really going on, but I wouldn't stop and listen.
Hmm. Interesting.
And when I would stop and listen, it would be, okay, well, somebody made this comment, or I heard this thing, or I saw this commercial on TV that reminded me of, or I read, or I saw something on Facebook or Instagram. And,
Hmm.
this is what I'm feeling right now. Okay, well, let's talk about that for a minute. And so then I would have that conversation with myself. And usually, by the time I finish having the conversation, by the time I finish exploring it, um, that compulsion has gone away because I've taken care of what it was that I really needed, which
So
was to listen.
interesting. So you're saying is, let's just say I'm craving a big burger and it's 11 at night and it's not healthy. I need to ask myself, A, stop and listen, right? Like you said, stop and listen why I want that burger. Maybe I'm missing my grandma. She passed away a couple years ago. And then from there, examine that, her passing, and maybe it's me being sad about it and then writing that down. And in that, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but in that process, understanding where it's coming from, the source, rather than just eating something and not realizing the source of why I'm doing it. Is that correct?
That's right. That's exactly it. Just taking that moment to listen to yourself. Where is this coming from? Why is it suddenly
Mm,
at 11 o'clock at night I'm wanting this, fast food burger or this bag of chips? What is really going on? I mean, think about small children. Small children don't always have the language to communicate with us. So they may be, throwing a toy or something like that. And if you'll just pause and ask them what's really going on, well, what's really going on is maybe right now I'm really, really tired and I don't know how to say I need to take a nap. Or
correct.
maybe what's really going on is it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I need a snack, but I don't know how to ask for a snack.
Hmm.
So if we treat our immature emotional selves just like small children, and we
Hmm.
listen to ourselves with kindness and with an open mind, then we start feeling heard and those compulsions start losing their power.
Interesting. So, a question that's come up is, what is your thought? So your understanding about this whole connection with food and our thoughts and asking why. Have you noticed that the more as society we've increased in technology and we're going, because I'm on the computer a lot. I have to admit, over 10 hours a day, easy, easy. Do you notice that the increase of this type of maybe pattern or behavior has increased as well?
Well, I think that as people are on technology more and more, they're losing connection with other people. And let's
Okay.
face it, let's face it. I mean, I'm on the computer a lot also, which some
Yeah.
days can be very, very exhausting emotionally because I get zero feedback from a computer.
Mm,
And if we're playing games or even searching on Facebook and Instagram, that can set off a whole nother set of problems because that's all artificial. It's
yeah.
not real. None of it's real. So then we get into this, well, I'm not measuring up, and it sets off a whole nother cycle of things. We as human beings are meant to be connecting with other human beings.
Correct.
And if we are not connecting with other human beings, how in the heck can we learn how to treat ourselves?
Mm,
Because we need to be practicing. But one of the things that I did find, and I find it incredibly beneficial, this whole pandemic with the increase in Zoom and all that stuff, that's
of
been
course.
very, very
Zoom has
helpful.
gone crazy. Like with our work, we Zoom everything. And now with family, Zoom everything. Like Zoom is probably one of our essential go-tos as a platform of connecting.
And it's been critical because we've actually been able to connect with people we never would have been able to connect with.
Yeah,
But we need to be brave enough to be our authentic selves. So as we are away from people and we're not reading body language and things like that, we can be shoving our emotions over to the side. We can be shoving our belief in ourself over to the side, and all of that can start bubbling up. And as a very good friend of mine always says, those things can come out sideways.
mm,
And that's when you get one of those negative reactions, when it's just, a tiny little comment and somebody overreacts. It's like, wait a minute,
correct.
where'd that come from?
Yeah,
Well,
100%.
it came from being inauthentic, being pushing stuff down, and all you need, you hear about the straw in the camel's back. That's all it
Correct.
takes.
Correct. So going with that, I think the one thing I want to ask is like, for people that are watching this, and you said asking that question why, if they're not understand, like if they want to go deeper with that, so after you ask the question why and you really locate it, how do you create the change in habits with that association with food? So let's say for myself as an example, so I've done my questioning, I've looked at what I need to look at with the trauma. Where does that, what, how does that, is that just developing just critical thinking, doing it over and over again to the point where it's, I change my behavior over a period of time while keep doing this activity? Or what is your take on that?
Well, it is just that. It's just like any other skill. You didn't learn how to rollerblade right away, did you? You probably fell
No,
off your
not at
skates
all.
several times.
Not at all.
Yeah, let's think about it. So we give ourselves grace in learning how to rollerblade. We give ourselves grace in learning how to dive off of a diving board. I mean, think about all the things that you give yourself grace in that involve physical activity. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with getting emotionally and mentally healthy. Let's give ourselves some grace. So I'm
Mhm.
not saying that I always, because always is one of those words we shouldn't be saying, and except if we're talking about the sun always comes up every morning and it always goes down every night.
Mm.
um but I don't always stop myself and ask myself those questions. But what I usually do
Mhm.
is when I end up going for, the half gallon of ice cream, I will say, wait a minute, what the heck was going on? I
Yeah.
forgive myself for doing that because you know what? I'm human. I'm not perfect. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. Sorry, I'm not plastic. I
No,
don't
no one's
sit in a
perfect.
corner,
Far Yeah. It's not.
so I've learned to forgive myself when I do make a mistake or make a choice that I wouldn't have made. But at the same time, I will again ask myself what was really going on. What was going on that you couldn't take a pause and you ended up eating half a gallon of peppermint ice cream with chocolate syrup? What was going on that you
Mhm.
couldn't stop and take a breath? and,
Yeah.
and then
Correct.
have that conversation. So I have come to believe that we need to be listening to ourselves as much as we would listen to our very best friend in the whole wide world.
I like that.
Because
I really,
because
I think,
we are with ourselves all the time.
and I find some people, like at night, especially, and maybe this is the reason why I go to it at night, is your brain starts turning. You're by yourself, you're in bed, laying down, and sometimes I'm not saying, I don't know, this is an idea or a theory or whatnot, an assumption. Maybe I'll say my experience is I find that people at night, we're always connected. I'm connected right now, and then I'm work on connected, and then my mental health startup, I'm connected. I'm always connected, but I'm not with myself truly. And when I'm with myself truly, it's a it's like a deeper level of relationship, demons, angel, whatever you want to call it, everything. And it's trying to absorb all that and going, yeah, today sucked. Like, and like, I'm not saying I'm far from perfect, but are you finding like at nighttime, you're finding like this type of behavior going to food more common, or during the day, or there's no real connection in your experience?
Well, it used to be that at night, the demons would unleash themselves inside my head. Because
Yeah,
as you said, the world quiets down at night. The world gets so much
100%.
quieter at night, and there are fewer opportunities to distract yourself. So the
True.
demons would start unleashing themselves at night, and then there would come in all that. Who do you think you are, and what do you think you were doing, and what a terrible person you are, and all that. I don't know why, but it seems like at night that's when all the negative garbage starts showing up. It's almost like the rabbits in my yard. I've got rabbits that I have to keep away from the dogs. I mean, they're not my rabbits; they're wild rabbits. But anyway,
Yeah, you have
um,
wild rabbits over here too. Yeah.
and I've got bird dogs. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Anyhow, but I found that once I started, because part of my routine in the morning is I have a conversation with myself in the morning, and I write 3 pages of conversation with myself about whatever. But I found that once I started that, about 6 months in, now when I get into bed, which used to be the time that I would have to read in order to turn my brain off, to stop all that. Who do you think you are? And what do you think you were doing? And why didn't you do this garbage? Now I put my head down and I'm
Mhm.
sound asleep in about 3 to 5 minutes. Sound asleep. Uh,
Because you've
but I
already unloaded
attribute
it.
that. That's exactly right. I've already unloaded it.
Huh. Interesting. Because I find sometimes it's hard for me to slow down, and I'm definitely going to take this on board and try it tonight and just unload. I'm not, maybe that's the wrong term, but just, like have a conversation with myself
No,
and
it's the
really,
right term. It's the right term.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and then unload and just see what comes of it and just see how my body feels and start monitoring how the quality of sleep that I get, because it's bad. It's pretty bad right now, but I'm hoping that, hey, I'm open to anything and everything. And I think for the viewers as well and the audience, I think that's probably a good starting point, is unloading and just having a conversation with yourself straight up, in that manner there. Before we go, what is one message that you want to give to the viewers or the audience, like if of anything that comes from the heart, from you to them?
Well, the main thing that I would like for them to know is they are enough.
Okay.
Just exactly as they are, where they are enough. They don't
Mm-hmm.
need to try and be somebody else or someplace else or anything different. As they are right now, they are enough. Tomorrow, they'll be someplace else. But let's meet
Oh,
us where we are and know that you are enough just as you are. And if you can't believe that, I will believe it for you until you can.
oh, I love that. And if anybody wants to get to see you or connect with you, author You Cant Eat Love, do you have a website as well?
Yes, the best place to reach me and to find out anything about me, and also there, I've got all kinds of
Yeah.
information and everything, is my website, youcanteatlove.com.
Okay, perfect.
And
Well,
I
I'll put
have
that
some
all in the,
freebies and things on there too as
oh,
well.
that's beautiful. I'll put that all in the links below. And
Okay.
I really appreciate your time. And it's really given me another perspective on, today, something new to try and see how I go and really see how to improve my quality of sleep, but as well as my quality with my conversation with myself. So thank you so much, Leslie. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Kris. I've enjoyed it.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.